And then my house caught on fire. So then I didn't have a place to live. The simple idea of changing whatever's happening to, instead of like this happened to me, to this happened for me, and seeing what I can learn from it.
Yo. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wonderful people of the world, and welcome back to Shared Ingredients. I'm your host, Andrew Pelosi, and today I am joined by the epic, legendary Cassia Metter. Cassia has been a staple in surfing for decades. She's been dubbed the queen of nose riding. I talked to her in the intro about how I just see her as a bringer together of good people, good vibes. Wherever she is, her presence is certainly felt. She's full of smiles, life, good vibes, doing amazing things. From surfing to sound baths to being an entrepreneur at Cassia Surf, she also just personifies the attitude of gratitude. She's super humble, although she's also crazy talented. I couldn't say enough good things about Cassia. Let's get into this episode. I hope you enjoy it. Yay! I'm joined today by the wonderful Cassia Metter. I always remember where I met somebody for the first time. This premiere, the You Scratched My Anchor Ruka premiere. So
I love it. I dig it. I dig it a lot. That was a fun premiere and good memory.
Yeah, it was wild. I miss those parking lot surf and skate video premieres. I feel like they don't happen as much.
I feel you. There was a whole scene happening there for a minute, and it was so fun.
Yeah, I could put so many classifications on you, but I think that you're a bringer together of good people and good vibes, human happiness community. You have your sound baths, your retreats, your surfing, your sustainable brand at Cassia Surf. It's an honor to have you on. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me, Andrew. I'm so pumped to be here with you. And I just think, the fact that you called me a happiness community gatherer, just that alone makes me excited. And, I think more than ever, it's just nice, to connect. So what a cool opportunity that this time has given us to connect deeper through podcasts and inspire people. It's been such a wonderful time to bring small groups of people together with retreats, and I'm looking forward to more coming up. So
yeah, totally. It feels like community is the backbone of what you really thrive to do. I think you gathered people at Breakwater on Fridays or something, didn't you?
Well, yeah. So we used to actually get together and do a beach cleanup in Venice on the weekends. And that was so fantastic. We partnered up with our friends at Groundworks, which is a local roaster. Obviously you bring coffee and people want to come together, especially early in the morning if you're also asking them to pick up trash. So I think, some of those foundational elements that really inspired me to surf was the community. It wasn't about, as much as surfing is an individual activity to a degree, it was really that community element that I felt and that I first saw as a kid. Honestly, sounds goofy, and I'll say it, I've said it a million times over the years. It's like watching those old Gidget movies when, with Frankie Avalon and Annette Funicello, and everybody's hanging down at Malibu, playing music and going surfing all day. That was the romantic fantasy that got me into surfing. Just hanging with a bunch of people on the beach, watching the sun maybe come up and go down, and surfing all day, gathering around food, around music, around people being together. And I think really the start of my surfing career, it was really community oriented. We'd be those little, the club events down at Malibu, and all the clubs from all over the place would get together, and everybody was surfing together, and we were always so pumped. And then we'd travel to Costa Rica. Well, all of a sudden that club's in Costa Rica, and we're all hanging out together. And so it was really a community element that really drew me into the surf culture, which I think is so deeply ingrained throughout the culture of surfing.
Yeah, I feel like it extends to business and everything else you're doing, because I think if you take that mindset of sort of togetherness and awareness and obviously concern for a common goal, whether it's helping the planet or doing things more sustainably, how much do you think that sense of community that you've fostered in surfing and on the beach has translated to the business you're building and to all the endeavors in your life?
Thank you for bringing that up, Andrew. And I think it's just like woven through every element of my life and how I am. And it's part of the fabric that I've woven my life through, whether it's like my connections with like other people I surf with or my business interaction. I'm really focused as a small business on collaboration, because really all of a sudden it's like I can do what I'm good at. And then you bring somebody together to do what they're good at. And then all of a sudden you have something that's just so much more impactful and so much more powerful than I can do on my own. As a human, a more conscious way to live and survive is through community, like shared resources, all these ways. And then it's just so much more fun to go share some resources like the ocean with your friends and have a couple party waves and have the best time ever. So I think all aspects of my life, I like to weave that in. And two, I really think I learned a lot about that. I think that's really like the aloha spirit. And I learned it from Donald Takayama. I spent so much of my youth really with him, and he mentored me in so many ways. He was like a big uncle to me and so many of us. And like Donald was all about community. You'd show up in the shop in Oceanside back in the day, and there was 10, 15 people hanging out. And then we'd all go surfing at Oceanside Boulevard. And then he'd take us all out to lunch. Or he'd take us all to Paula, to the casino, and we'd have like a huge buffet. Those are some of my most important times. He wasn't focused on like making more boards and selling them or like, a bottom line. He was focused on community and bringing all of us misfits together to go surfing and have fun together. And that was just so special.
Wow, that's so rad. I mean, I know like you grew up in Downey and then like kind of deeper in the valley, right? Or like somewhere
Yeah,
like
I
that?
was born in Downey, which is definitely not by the beach.
Yep.
And then I grew up, like, we moved to Agora Hills when I was about like 5 or 6 years old. So we were valley kids, I was skateboarding way before I surfed. I was snowboarding before I surfed, and then it was kind of like, man, I wasn't very good at skateboarding and I hurt myself all the time. But my dad was a surfer. And like, so the over the hill to Malibu or Leo Carrillo wasn't so far away. So I started doing first junior lifeguards at Leo Carrillo, met some friends in the valley. We all surfed together. Our moms would take us down. And, I think too with my dad, he was like, I'll take you surfing, but like you got to learn the ocean first. So junior lifeguards was kind of like step one. Learned a lot about the ocean, got really strong. And then my dad could take me surfing with him. He wasn't like worried that something would happen.
Yeah, that's amazing. So when did you link up with Donald? Because that feels like, was that a later chapter? Because that you talk about the misfits, like going to eat at the casino. I picture you as young.
I was pretty young. I started riding for Donald when I was 17 years old. I met him when I was 16. I met him and Jeff Hackman at the exact same time. I was in Australia. I had saved up, all my nickels and dimes, pennies and everything in between to send myself to Australia to go surf in the Noosa Festival, the Noosa Longboard Festival. And I was paddling out at Tea Tree, and all of a sudden I saw Joel Tudor out there, who was like my hero, who is so many people's heroes when it comes to the longboard world. And Joel had paddled out with Jeff Hackman and Donald. And basically, I got a good wave by all of them. And then the next day, I was traveling also with my mom. And the next day, Donald came up to us and he first asked my mom, he's like, hey, I would love to make your daughter some boards if that's okay with you. And my mom was like, sure. She would love a surfboard. Like she only has one, And so he came up and talked to me and I was like, oh my gosh. I mean, of course I knew who Donald Takayama was. He made Joel's boards, who was like my hero. And also just, he did so much. He was another goofy footer like myself. And I was really interested in the history of surfing. So Jeff Hackman, Mr. Sunset, Donald. So basically I came home, I turned 17, I drove down, got my first board. Jeff had put in a good word for me at Roxy. I won the Roxy contest on the first board I ever got from Donald at C Street, and they put me on the Roxy team. So that all happened within that moment, and it was just that afternoon surfing out at Tea Tree in Australia that it all went down. And then that next summer, I went and spent time with Jeff Hackman and his son Ryan over in France and kind of got into the, Roxy Europe crew. And it was just like, wow, what a dream come true. And also like, that's what's so cool about surfing, having an opportunity to surf alongside and really know these legends. these legends of our sport, these people that really like were paving the way to what it is now are like still attainable. I mean, Donald has since passed, which like was a huge blow, I think, to the surfing community, myself, big time. I mean, that really shook me. Um, but like guys like Jeff are still out doing their thing. And it's amazing. And that's something that I definitely encourage the generation that's out there now. Like, do you know your history? You know, do you know what's really going on? Do you know that these people are out in the lineup with you? Go talk to them, go learn from them. They have so much to share.
Yeah, no, that's a beautiful thing. And I feel like I've always talked about that with surfing and skateboarding, accessibility to, as you mentioned, legends or people who have paved the way for where we are, or the next up and comers. They're right there. You can just form that community. It's not about how good you are. If you're respectful and you acknowledge ethics and history of what your community is doing, then that's all you need, right? Like it's just a matter of paving the way respectfully. So that seems to be a funny thing for you. Seeing you paddle out at Venice and Topanga and places like that, clearly with beginners and people who are so stoked and they have like these massive grins on their face. And you seem to just show them the respect of like, hey, we're all out here to have fun, but acknowledge what the rules of the road are. Has that changed at all for you? Kind of the community of competitive or hanging with the people who are the best and then kind of just bringing people into the world?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, you know, for me, it's really exciting to see people getting excited about surfing for the first time. It brings me back to when I was like first getting into it and how it literally changed my life for the better. And it's just so inspiring how empowered people get through the ocean. Like I was lucky to start surfing when I was younger. I mean, you know, I started surfing when I was like 14, 15, which nowadays is like super old. If you haven't like won some title by the time you're 14 or 15, you're like old news kind of thing, you know? But that said, when we kind of grew up, it was like a different vibe. You know, I also didn't grow up by the beach. So I think when people are in their like, you know, 30s or 40s and like getting into surfing, they're just like fresh, you know, and they're just so stoked and it changes their life for the better. And so that really gets me fired up. And I really want to invite people in and also give them some knowledge. The water is a scary place. It's intimidating. The lineup's intimidating. If you can give somebody a couple of tips that may save them from being in the wrong place at the wrong time and makes the lineup a better place, it's like, let's make it inviting. People are coming into the water in droves more than ever. You know, surfing's more popular than ever before, and it's fantastic. And if we can invite people in a way that gives them the tools and the awareness and the knowledge to do so in a way that's supportive for the whole lineup. I mean, when we're out there together, whether people like it or not, we're in community. So the more that we can communicate in that community, everybody's going to have a better session.
Yeah, 100%. And tell me about other things you've got going on. The sound baths I've always found fascinating. I still need to do one, but tell people who are listening, and for my edification, tell people what sound baths are.
For all the surfers and the skaters out there and musicians alike, all, you know, just all people. I mean, really, in a nutshell, everything in our in reality, like everything that we see is sound and light. And those sound waves are just different forms of waves. When we're riding ocean waves, when we're riding energy waves, we're really riding those pulsations of life, force, energy. So, you know, kind of bringing it back to that, the first time I received a sound bath, I was blown away. It felt like surfing in the cosmos. And it really stuck with me for a couple years until I got my own bowls and started playing and then studied with different people and then became a practitioner. And I'm still learning through it every time I play. And really what it is it offers me, it really feels like surfing. So it feels like I feel like really home with it. And really what it does is like, our bodies, our energy systems, everything. We're these like fine, unique, magical instruments. And just like a guitar can come out of tune, our bodies can come out of tune. You have a bummer conversation, you get fired from a job, you have like an argument with somebody and it kind of sits with you and you're like, man, I just feel weird, like I'm off. And so really what sound bathing does is it gives your body an opportunity to recalibrate. to its most optimal state of harmonic resonance and or balance. It's hard to kind of sum it up in a quick way because I could go on and on for a long time about it. But that's really what it is. It's an opportunity for your nervous system to get out of the sympathetic fight or flight into the parasympathetic, which is release and reset. As we know, there's so much stimulus for our nervous system. So just having an opportunity to chill out, meditation practices offer the same. And a lot of us have like a very active mind. So it's maybe hard for us to turn off our minds and really drop into that deep state of theta or parasympathetic. So what sound bathing does is it also offers a landscape and an opportunity for you to kind of slip into that kind of like subconscious, super subconscious, or, parasympathetic reset when it comes to kind of like your nervous system. So, it's basically like I've had people come to sound baths being like, man, I've never been able to meditate and I just drop straight in there. So, for those that are having a hard time meditating and wanting to bring a practice in, it's an opportunity for that. And it's just basically an opportunity to go for a ride.
That's awesome. And so if somebody's not living in LA and they don't have, say, the wherewithal or access to meeting someone like you doing it, is there a way for them to do it via like a YouTube? I mean, I know you had a video up on there, or is that not the same experience? I mean, I'm sure it's not the same experience, but is that an okay starting point for somebody?
Absolutely. As much as it's anything to be in person with people and to witness it in person, I mean, doing something online, 100%, absolutely. You have a good set of headsets, like you have a good headset right there on, you have a great set of speakers in your house, and you can really optimally experience it for the first time in the comfort of your own home. And right now, I think, I've never really been into virtual sound baths more as I have been this year. And, given the current state of the world, it's such an awesome offering and such an opportunity to bring people together from all over the world. People like have been joining sound baths from Germany and Costa Rica. And now, one of the largest online offerings I did was with my friends at Four Sigmatic, and we had over 2,500 people joining in one sound bath in one evening. I mean, we wouldn't have had a place big enough to fit them if they all showed up before. This is where technology can work for us to give us access to anything and everything we may need in the comfort of our own homes.
Very cool. So every time I see you down at the beach early morning, you're always positive, and that just seems to be your personality in general. But is there anything you do when you wake up or when you go to sleep as far as like setting these intentions or getting yourself in that mindset that you would want to bestow on others?
Absolutely. I mean, I have like a pretty deep meditation practice, and I really, that is my North Star, as well as surfing. Surfing is a real North Star for me. And if I'm ever feeling kind of like fragmented, which happens, I'm a human having a human experience, like we're all human and we have things, some days I feel amazing. Some days maybe I don't feel great, but really having a meditation practice and something to constantly be dropping into. And it's not like I do it when I'm feeling bad. I do it every single day, because it's really in that repetition that everything comes. If I'm really having an off one and I know I haven't surfed for a while, I just need to get back in the water. And so I think like when you see me down the beach, I'm just like so pumped to be in the ocean. It doesn't even have to be good. I'm just happy to be there. And so I think that, those are kind of like some real guiding lights in my life. I gained so much resilience and elasticity in really being able to handle whatever's coming at me. Honestly, I've witnessed some crazy stuff in my life. And I've also been very blessed with so many things. And I think, honestly, some of the craziest stuff that has happened to me has happened for me. So really just like the simple idea of changing whatever's happening to, instead of like this happened to me, to this happened for me, and seeing what I can learn from it.
Are there any specific stories about the hard things you have gone through that you care to share? And all good if not. Yeah.
Oh, totally. I'm like such an open book. So, a couple years ago, I left pro surfing to start my own company. That was hard. I had no money. I put my whole life savings into it, and it's been gnarly, so that was like a test, and a test I chose to put myself through. And, kind of like somewhere in there, I was just like struggling financially. And then my house caught on fire. So then I didn't have a place to live. And so all of a sudden I have this business that I'm trying to run and figure it out, hold the reins on. And then I don't have a place to live. And it's like me and my dog, we lost our home. And then I got into some like crazy lawsuit with my old landlord. And she took a bunch of money from me, which I didn't have anyway. So for like 2 years almost, I didn't have a place to live. I was just cruising couch to couch to couch and trying to keep my business afloat. I sold all my surfboards. I sold all my cameras, like really a lot of the things that like, really were my treasure troves, because I really didn't have, I put stuff into extra space storage and was just couch patrolling it. And that time was so valuable. And I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world, because I learned so much about myself through that experience. And also I learned so much about impermanence and really just like letting go of everything and not feeling. And now I'm like, grateful, because actually it was just this last September that I like moved into a house again that we had a lease on. And like all of a sudden, like now my business is starting to move again in a good way. And we're going to make another collection for the first time in a long time. And we have some great collaborations coming out. And I'm doing these like, during that time too, I started going back to school. I started studying craniosacral and polarity therapy and deeper forms of energy medicine, both to kind of like, I also went through a lot of concussions at that time. My speech was stuttering, definitely having ups and downs. As many people know, when you have concussions, you can go into deep states of like, deep sadness and depression. But then I started studying craniosacral medicine, which is like actually what really helped me through my concussions. And I started really just like using it as an opportunity to refine myself. And now I'm like, wow, like looking back to even like, it was only a little over a year ago that I got a place to live again. And I was like, this is the best thing ever. I just have a place to live. Like, this is amazing. It's just like those little things, and having an opportunity for my business to be really kind of like in a struggle. I also had the opportunity to like be going back to school and learning different things. And I let go of, and this may sound weird, wanting my business to be anything. So then I got to have fun again. And now it's like we get to do another collection again, which I'm like so pumped to just get some more stuff back into the world. So, it's been a trippy 5 years. And in those 5 years, I learned more than I ever had. It's like walking away from being a professional surfer and saying thank you and no thank you to money for doing what I love most, but also feeling like disenchanted by it. Feeling like I had done all that I wanted to do and there was nowhere else to go. And also like feeling like deep within my spirit, like, man, like this isn't serving me. I want to like do something that inspires me, and I want to like challenge myself and put something out there that like I as an adult person want to stand behind. So it's like all those things, like, yeah, they were all my grinding stone, and I feel so grateful. And now to be able to support other people, so I'm like a craniosacral practitioner. I see clients. I'm running a business, learning every day, learning through that. I have a place to live. I have a roof over my head. This is amazing. And what a gift.
Super inspiring, your perspective on it all. One of the things you said, among many there, but one of the things you said that really stuck out for me is when you talk about the brand, and we'll introduce that because we haven't really mentioned it. But for those listening, the brand is Cassia Surf, and it's incredible and it's sustainable. And she takes old recycled wetsuits and makes them into yoga mats as a byproduct. We'll talk about all that. But the point is that you have this incredible brand you're building. But what you said right there, which really stuck out, is that, and I won't have the exact words, but basically that you're like focused on fun, and that allowed you to sort of like reset and keep moving and do a new collection, as opposed to like focus on, I assume, quantity or profit or whatever else. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I definitely feel like as a surfer, as a skater, we know wherever we're looking, we're headed. And, I had been part of these like giant brands within the surf industry. And what a blessing to be able to get to do what I love and travel around the world. I also felt that like so many of them were focused on the bottom line. And that's where like a lot of our industry has like literally hit rock bottom. And so if you're focused on the bottom line, I feel like that's where you're going. Personally, I'm like not projecting, I'm not like blaming, or, it's just more so like that's what I felt. And I was like focused on like, for so long, I wanted the company to be successful, and I was like so like focused on that I wasn't seeing like just like the rad opportunity to engage with somebody, to paddle out in the lineup and see somebody wearing my wetsuit and they're like, dude, I love this thing. And I'm like, yes, and like, Really, that's why I'm doing it. If I'm able to do more, then it's successful. If I'm able to inspire somebody, then it's successful. Like success means so many different things, you know? So I think really that's what it's about, is having fun and not being so focused on things and kind of like letting go. And I think in a lot of ways that's like also part of like the meditation and part of like the practice of really being grateful for the opportunity of impermanence. It's like not having to hold on to something, like being able to create something and like let it go, or not being stuck by having having it be quantified in one way, shape, or form. Like I live simply. I'm just pumped to have a roof over my head and to get to go surf. If I can, spend money on good quality food and go on a surf trip every now and again, like I'm successful and I'm thriving. So I think that that's what it's about for me, and that's what's allowed the creativity to flow again. Because I was feeling for a while like stuck and not creative and a little like disenchanted with that. And so now it's like that I've kind of let go of like needing or wanting anything, like having no desire, just being excited about the creative process. There's like more available energy coming through.
That's awesome. And is the official tagline high vibe, low impact? Because that's the coolest statement ever. Is that just your IG?
Yeah, no, that's the official tagline. It's officially unofficial because I guess we don't do anything officially, but officially unofficially, high vibe, low impact. And that's what I want to do, It's like it's been so fun to collaborate again with like friends, my friend Brian Shields at Suga Yoga, because we're able to like work with him and like, give our customers and give our community an opportunity to recycle the old wetsuits with us. And then we work with him and we recycle them and upcycle them into yoga mats. And that's freaking awesome. Like, we get notes from kids like, thank you for keeping this out of the earth. And we're like, yeah, that's like the best thing ever. And so I think it's about just like being open to that. And like, if I was like a company focused on bottom lines, I would be like, well, there's no profitability in this. And why am I doing this? Well, because I'm doing it for the planet and I'm doing it because I love it and it inspires me. And there's some kid who drew me a picture and this rules. So right on. This is like better for the planet in the long run. And that's like what we're about. That's where we all profit. And so I think that that's like really the foundation of the company. And that's what the high vibe, low impact is about. Like, and I'm not saying I have the answers. I'm constantly learning through what's possible in each and every day, and constantly being open to adapting and changing and refining and refining. And I think that's what it's about. Like being a surfer, being a skater, you're constantly refining. Like you may have like pulled some sweet trick or you may have like gotten to a plateau, but you're not like, okay, cool, I'm here now. You're like, dude, how can I go deeper? How can I get better? How can I keep on like working towards, that next phase? So I think that that's what, we're about and constantly trying to work towards. And it's exciting because consumers are asking for it now. Consumers are like really, and I think that's where we have power as consumers. Like, dude, I'm not going to buy that. I'm going to buy this because it speaks to what I'm into. It has integrity, it has value. They're doing their research and things aren't perfect, but there's a way to get there. And I think like as consumers, we can really more so guide what's offered with our dollar. And that's where there's like true power.
Yeah. So it's a little bit reverse order, but give people the story of Cassia Surf as far as what you sell, what you're making, and kind of what the future is as far as the product mix.
Absolutely. So thank you for asking that. So, Cassia Surf, it's about high vibe, low impact. And we're really working towards making a very high quality wetsuit that lasts longer in the most sustainable way we possibly can. And I truly feel that if we're making anything, it's not sustainable because there's enough stuff on the planet. We don't actually need anything. However, the way that we create it can be more and more sustainable. So like, are we using dyes that are, organic? Are we using dyes that don't harm the waterways? Are we using, renewable or hydroelectric energy? Do our products last longer? Do they work better? Because if it doesn't work and you're making it and it might be out of the like best fabric possible, but it's not going to work, it's not going to fit, well, then that's actually not more sustainable. To make a product that fits better and performs better and lasts longer is actually like a way smarter way to produce something in the first place. And then the end of life solution, the fact that we can like bring back, like right now I have a couple, boxes full of wetsuits that people sent us. And when I have my box full, the next time I go to San Diego to go surfing or pick up some wax or whatever, I'll recycle that with my guy. I'll just take it down to him directly. We take it out of kind of like the supply chain. It doesn't end up in a landfill. So those are the ways. And when it comes to soft goods, we're going to be launching soft goods really soon. And the reason I steered away from soft goods in the past was just not wanting to cause more harm. Right now, we're really kind of focusing on launching a soft good collection that is really of the highest integrity when it comes to like recycled, repurposed, or upcycled, post-consumer waste, or, like the highest 5 materials we can possibly get. And then also not be like driving all over the place to get something dyed or something like screen printed. Like if we can really work with people who have everything in house, so like the garment's not going all over the place. It's like, how can we be the most strategic? How can we be the most streamlined as possible? Because that's really where you cut down your waste. So, just constantly learning and trying to adapt in different ways. And I'm excited about it. It's fun. And it's awesome to be working with different people and collaborating on different ways,
Totally. And I agree. I obviously haven't put this out yet, put out any episodes, but I had John Moore, our mutual friend, on before.
Oh, yeah.
And, yeah, totally. And the stories are pretty similar, right? Like, I mean, Outer Known obviously has a similar vibe as far as what their goals are. And he said the same thing as you. His first thing was, well, the world doesn't need more clothes. The question I have for you, which I had for him, and it's hard for any of us to really answer this, is as you grow, the more you're going to produce. And I know you're doing it in a conscious way. Is that a conflict?
Yeah, thank you for asking that. It kind of weighs heavy, right? Because two things. Well, probably more than two things. So we'll see where this goes. But I'm also partly just riffing and inspired by this moment and also workshopping it with you, which I think is important. So it's all part of having conversation and platforms for conversation with other brands, because I think in conversing and collaborating, again, we can find solutions. Also, it's like when it comes to creating a company, right? If I'm actually creating like a 3 to 5 year business plan with this much growth and this much stuff, totally, that would be a problem that would come out. It's like, how do I be that restaurant that everybody knows about, that people go to, that's successful, but doesn't blow out into a chain and lose the quality or lose like the, what we started to be in the first place, what I left that $4 billion company to start. It's not my goal to be another Quicksilver Roxy. That's the furthest thing from my goal. I don't want to do that because they're part of the problem. That size and that scale is part of the problem. Then you see a company like IKEA, and they're probably one of the biggest companies on the planet, period. And they are actually part of the solution because they're actually so big that they make sure that all of their factories are upgraded with solar and hydroelectric energy or, renewable energy. They make sure that all of everything they're using is as high quality and as regenerative as possible. Because they're so big that they can actually dictate it. So I think it kind of goes two ways, right? Like you can grow to a place that then you can actually really change your whole supply chain. And if you're the size of IKEA and you can change your whole supply chain and upgrade it, then you're actually giving more access for these smaller companies to actually benefit and also be more green based off your, ethics and morals that you imparted on these like different supply chains that not only are yours, they're other people's as well. So I think it's kind of like, it kind of goes both ways. So we're just trying to make the best quality product in the most resourceful and ethical way and sustainable way that we possibly can. And again, I want to get away from the word sustainability because I really feel like nothing's sustainable if you make it, but like in the best way as possible. Having conversations with people like, could we be like, I love to bring back people's wetsuits. I would love to figure out a way to like invite people to send us their old clothing and us to send us to a manufacturer to like amazing, like where are these collection houses? We're going to see more and more of them in our future. And then there's going to be more of an opportunity. You know what I mean? And it's also like the things have to be in place to recycle them. So it's like now that there's more want for that, now that there's more need for that, there's going to be more opportunity for that, where I think that conversations like we're having right now are part of the solution.
Yeah, I love so many elements of that answer. So thank you. I mean, the IKEA thing is brilliant because that's a really interesting way to look at it, is that it's not like all doom and gloom if it's a big company, because IKEA started by solving a necessity. And I believe like part of their story was helping people who did need help both financially and with limited space. So there was so much to that story that speaks to the way that the world's going. You feel like all ships will rise, all companies from kids companies on up are going to start to think the way that Cassia Surf and Outer Known do?
I think they will, and they will faster when we really vote with our dollars as consumers, as the head hold, people in the family that are making those decisions, you know what I mean? Like all of a sudden, like, okay, well, yeah, like I'm the head holder in the family and I'm like buying conscious products because I know it's the future. And no, I'm not going to buy this because it's in plastic. Well, shoot, I like love this company's stuff. Why are they making it in plastic? Like, I'm just not going to buy it, but also tell those people, because all of a sudden, if they have a bunch of backstock on stuff, they're going to be like, wait, what are we doing wrong? And it's like all those restaurants that were so quick to pass out straws, those straws cost some money. And straws are like hugely horrible for our planet, and we don't need plastic straws. Well, all of a sudden, if you go into that restaurant and you're like, no straw, please. And, sometimes you have to say it a couple times. And I'm using this as an analogy because it's easy. Well, then all of a sudden they go in their backstock and they're like, damn, we wasted all this money on straws. Maybe we shouldn't get them. And then they're not getting them. And then all of a sudden it trickles down to the straw company. They're like, well, we used to sell this much a year. Why are we not? Maybe we should like invest in some like bio straws with like cornstarch, or like with, you know what I mean, created that's like, like bamboo, or like maybe we'll do this. And so then you're changing it from the ground up. But it started with like people requesting like, no, please don't put a straw in my drink.
That's a great analogy. And I think that's totally the way the world's going to go. You are certainly someone who's followed your passions, which is really inspiring. What advice do you give to the up and comers in life, whether it's kids who are just getting out of high school or starting their career or want to pursue their dreams but don't know if it's all good to go in on this idea?
I think that to inspire future generations, if you're, I mean, gosh, man, kids probably haven't seen Donnie Darko. That's such a good movie.
Totally. But, great soundtrack too.
Yeah, great soundtrack. Well, I think that intuition. What's your intuition tell you? To go for it. If you're inspired and your intuition is telling you to go for it, that is your happiness speaking and asking you to listen. So it doesn't maybe look like the best thing to do on paper. Maybe it's nonsensical. It doesn't make sense, but it's what you're here to do. So inviting you to really express that and dive into what that means, because no matter what, you're going to learn something along the way, which is going to be unquantifiable how imperative that is to your happiness and success in your life. You're an individual and you're here to really express your unique and magical self through this world. And that's what I really feel. So get to expressing what you're here to express and learn who you are along the way. There's a quote that I love: build your dreams or have somebody pay you to build theirs. That's what's up. Build your dreams. And people may tell you you're crazy. And I feel like when somebody kind of tells you you're crazy, that's when you're onto something. And so go for it. And worst case scenario, you learn something along the way. There's no true failures as long as you are true to you and you are diving into what inspires you, because you're going to inspire somebody else and it's going to keep on going. And that's what I feel we're really here to do.
So rad. Thank you for that. So now some rapid fire weird ones. So give me a dream surf session. If you were to surf anywhere with someone living or dead, who would it be with and where?
Oh, man. I mean,
you can name multiple people if you need to.
Multiple people. I mean, all my favorite goofy footers. It'd be so epic to surf with like Linda Benson and Jerry Lopez and Rob Machado on like a perfect left point break. Joel Tudor, Donald, like all these people, like all my favorite goofy footers on like a perfect left point break.
So we thinking like an Indo boat trip?
Yeah, or even like a perfect Mexico point break, like an Indo boat trip. Yeah, but like, I mean, I'm talking like a perfect 3 to 5 foot wave. Maybe there's some barrel sections, but it's like perfectly rippable on any kind of board. Like that would rule.
Rad. Can you please tell me where that spot is you're thinking as a goofy footer? I'm like, whoa, which Mexico spot are we
Dude,
talking
I
about?
feel like, yeah, like New Zealand or like, kind of somewhere in Costa Rica or Mexico, like that perfect point break, like bringing together all your favorite waves into one point break. You know what I mean? As a goofy footer, like you kind of have like the same watercolor as Indo, but then it's like a perfect cobblestone point break, like somewhere in Mexico, like almost like a Scorpion Bay in reverse.
That's
Something like that, but then with that Indo water and also that Indo warmth.
sounds pretty dreamy.
Right? I'm
Yes,
like that's my dream wave. Like maybe like we're having this dream right now, so it's somewhere. We just got to find it.
I love it. If you were to have lunch with anybody living right now, who would it be?
I've always looked up to Patti Smith, and I've like gone to a couple shows she's done for small audiences, and like hearing the way that she speaks about things has been really inspiring. And so I think that like I would love to go sit with her and eat some food and pick her brain, because she's a person that just believed in herself, and she's a badass, and she just stood up for what inspired her and went for it. And, if you were to like look at her, it's like, well, that kind of music and what, and like that hasn't been done before, but she went for it. And she created this whole like genre that's like so magical and epic, and with her art and like what she did and her spoken word. So I think like somebody like that, that's an inspiring person that has really made their own way.
Super cool. On the topic of food, even though this podcast is called Shared Ingredients, and you talked about shared resources. So I like the similarities here.
I love it.
So I know you're a good connoisseur of taco trucks. So give us some local flavor of either hidden gems or places that you would recommend, whether it be a taco truck, dive, or something, as far as places you don't think people know about.
Oh man. Okay. So there's this place on the corner of my street called Tangaroa.
I live 3 blocks from you. It's a great spot. I was there in the first week that they were around. They're great.
That's amazing. I mean, like moving here, like I've just been living here obviously since last September, and like that place is down the road and I had no clue. And that place rules and is really good quality, and is also like you drive by it a million times and like not even know it's there.
Yeah. It's like Ruben's Glass Shop and then like all these random things and then Tangaroa.
Dude, that place rules. I'm obsessed with that place. And then when it comes to like a breakfast burrito, best breakfast burrito is Malibu.
Country Kitchen.
Yeah, Country Kitchen.
I had to cut you off because I was like,
Dude, thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy you know it, because it's like, it's a classic and it's a staple. And like, honestly, like one of the funnest things to go surfing in Malibu is to get like a breakfast burrito from those guys. I mean, you have tater tots in it. It's amazing.
They're the greatest.
Yeah, it's the best.
Yeah. Do you eat meat or not?
So more often than not, I do not eat meat, especially not red meat. Every now and again, if something is really well sourced, like I'll have some meat. It's been a while since I have. When I was a kid, I was vegan from when I was 15 to 18. And there really wasn't, I didn't know how to go vegan in a good way. I just saw some like weird documentary on like, food at school, and it freaked me out. And I was like, I can't eat animals, but I didn't really know, then I was just like eating frozen vegetables. I was a kid, and rice, and I just wasn't getting the nutrients I needed. And it wasn't so easy to have like plant protein and all these different things, it's like, so now it's so easy for people to be vegan if you want to. I also think a really balanced lifestyle as somebody who's really active is important, especially all the growing kids out there. I mean, I think I like suffered developmentally at that time in my life for not really having as much nutrients as I needed. That said, it's just so easy for people to have access to things now. I also think that, you got to go with what your body needs and craves. And if you do it, like we also have access to more sustainable ways to eat meat in different ways. So if am eating meat for my nutrients and for my blood type, turkey is something that's good for me actually. But red meats are really not supportive. And fish is good. So I eat my friends at Seatopia. I love their fish. I don't know if you know those guys.
No, tell me.
Oh my gosh. They're like the most, I mean, sustainable way to eat fish. They have the lowest mercury count. They work with aqua farmers in like the most high vibe way. All of their stuff comes delivered on the full or new moon. It's called Seatopia.fish. And I have a discount code, Cassia Surf.
Pump it. Yeah.
Literally, it's the best. I'm obsessed with them. All the packaging it comes in is 100% compostable and biodegradable. And it's like best quality. And you're also working with these small farmers who are really doing things in the most ethical way. So it's like, I know that my body thrives having a good fish diet. And right now for this month, I'm not having it. And yeah, I miss it. And it's also good dedication for a month. Like, hey, this month I'm vegan. It's chill. But when I do eat meat, it's not so much meat as it is fish. And if I do have meat, it's turkey. And that's just what works best for me. I'm AB blood type. So that's what's.
Cool.
But check out Zootopia. You'll trip.
I will. Yeah. So last question I have is, obviously you do all these things that are great for you as far as the way you eat and your mindfulness. What are ways you recommend people start? I talk to a lot of my guests about this, whether they want to eat less meat or they want to be more eco-conscious. And sometimes like they look at this big mountain in front of them and they're like, oh my gosh, it's overwhelming. What's your advice for starting anything towards a better life or a happier life or a more fulfilling life?
Absolutely. Little bits go a long way. And if you're looking at that big mountain and it's better to avoid taking one step than feeling like you have to tackle it all at once, it's just about that one step at a time, right? I like to speak in metaphors. So if you're thinking about it like, I'm going in this direction, this is the way I've been walking forever. If I change my footing 1 degree, yeah, in like 10 feet, I'll still be in the same room. But in a mile, I might be on a whole different street. In 10 miles, I might be in a whole different town. But it was just that 1 degree of change that really gave me the opportunity to change where I'm going completely. And you might not see it right away, but it's like down the road that it's going to start to make those really big changes in your life. But it's just by making that 1 degree of change. So maybe that 1 degree of change is if you're eating a lot of meat and maybe you're feeling sluggish and maybe you also want to be better for the planet. Like if you eat meat 3 meals a day, cut those meals back to once a day and really enjoy it and make sure it's ethically sourced. If you feel like plastic is overwhelming, carry your water bottle with you. Just by carrying your water bottle with you everywhere, you're going to cut down huge. A, you're going to drink a lot more water, which is great for your health. And B, you're going to cut down hugely on like plastic consumption. If you really wanted to garden, but you're having a hard time because it feels like overwhelming to have a huge garden, just have like one small relationship with food, whether it's like growing a tomato plant, whether it's even just growing flowers, just get your hands involved, you know? So I think it's just about like that 1 degree of change in your life that you can make now that's going to change your whole trajectory down the line. And it gets easier constantly. It's like one simple thing. There's a company called Nope, and they make soap that's in a bar. They're amazing. It doesn't come in plastic. You can easily travel with it. And right there, that's like a way to save on your plastic. So it's just like, if it's one thing you use a lot in your life, just find the alternative. And there's so many different alternatives. I mean, Kind Humans is a platform that sells gear and you can learn about stuff and just buy different food kits. Like I really try and bring my lunch with me everywhere because then I'm not eating out. And if I just don't eat out and I bring my food with me, A, it saves me money, which rules. Also, I'm eating better quality stuff. So I feel better. And then I'm just like cutting down on plastic. So it rules. And then if I do eat out once every now and again, then I'm like, okay, this is like a really special thing and I really appreciate it more, you know, but like your wallet's happy, your body's happy, and you're also like cutting back on plastic. So I think it's like find that one thing in your life that you do a lot of and just transform it in one way. And then from there, you can continually add on to it little by little.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for the continued inspiration, good words, vibes, low impact, high vibes, always. Everybody listening, go check out Cassia Surf on Instagram. Check out her website. Her wetsuits are the best. Everything that's to come, we're super excited about. Recycle your wetsuits with her. I'm sure they can find out how to do that on your site.
Absolutely. We have like a little thing. So check it out and check us out. And yeah, come join us for the party. It's like in community, this is how we like make big change. So come along. We'd love to hear from you and how we can do things better and how we can all evolve.
Amazing. Together. Thank you. Have a rad day and we'll see you soon.
Thanks so much, Andrew.
All right.
Bye.
Cheers. All right, bye. You. Contagious radness would probably be the best way for me to describe the vibes that Cassia puts out. I guess we shouldn't use the word contagious as much in the COVID times, but anyway, she's done so many incredible things at Cassia Surf with upcycling, recycling. So if you have ideas for her and her brand or just ways to do cool things in the community, definitely hit her up. Follow her on social at Cassia Surf. Check out CassiaSurf.com. Go buy her products. They're amazing. Really stylish wetsuits. Thank you again for being here. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a positive rating, review, comment, share, like it. All of that makes a massive difference, and I greatly appreciate your support. You can follow me at Pelosi and at Shared Ingredients, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Yay!